Hi, everyone. Welcome again to our series on Summer International Virtual Internships. And the Lighthouse is glad to welcome you again. And this time we have Brooke from CIEE. Welcome, Brooke. We're very happy to have you. And please begin when you are ready.
Awesome. Well, yes, very glad to be here. My name is Brooke Beland. I have worked at CIEE since 2016 on a variety of different internship and experiential learning programs and study abroad programs. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk about our summer virtual internship programs so that you can consider them as you're planning how am I going to gain professional work experience during this time of COVID. We're here to help you. So I'll just go through a little bit of the program offering from a general perspective, but I'm always happy to chat with students one-on-one as you look to identify your goals and assess if this is going to be a program that's a best fit for you. So my email is there, and I do encourage students to reach out if I can answer any questions that are individual and particular to you and your goals. Please feel welcome to get in touch. So, just to give a quick overview, I'm going to be talking about our virtual internship programs kind of as a collective, but I did want to point out that we have two different durations. So, we offer an 8-week program that's more full time in nature and a 12-week program that's a bit more part time in nature. And so, for the main component of the program, it is the internship itself, of course. So, what you can expect from the commitment level there is that for either duration structure of the program, you'll be interning for 200 to 240 hours as the total minimum threshold. Again, in the 8-week, a bit more full time at 25 to 30 hours a week. And in the 12-week, a bit more part time, 16 to 20 hours a week. And that's something that you might consider, juggling with other online courses or other commitments that you might be planning on for the summer. So in the summer, we will have two start dates as well. So one in mid-May and one in mid-June for both duration models. And so the application deadlines for May are April 1st, and the application deadlines for June will be May 1st. So you have plenty of time, but you're always welcome to get started on an application sooner rather than later. And the link to that website is shared below, and I'm sure you'll have access to that via the recording resource as well. So just a couple of generalities to get started with, more on the logistical front. So let's talk about what the program is. And so we've designed our virtual internship program to be a project-based experience that's really going to allow you to um, gain skills and have immediate bullet points to add to your resume and your experience. So you'll have ownership over particular projects that you'll be juggling in your 8 or 12-week virtual internship experience. Now, we deliver this program internationally, so we are sourcing internship opportunities in over 20 of our locations where we've historically, coordinated in-person internships. So we already have really strong networks of employers and host organizations in those locations. Um, some of our locations are not English speaking locations, but we are prepared to identify English speaking internship opportunities. So there's no language requirement for our programs because we are prepared to provide a placement in English. Now, if you are, taking Spanish or, learning German or what have you, and you want to activate those skills in your internship, that's certainly possible. And if you have really strong local language skills, that can expand opportunities for you, but it is not a requirement. So did just want to highlight that for you. When you get started with us on the program through the application process, you'll kind of begin to do some, professional development work just through the application itself and immediately following acceptance to the program. So once you're accepted to the program, we meet with every student one-on-one to go over your interests, your goals, the skills that you can bring to an opportunity, and your interests and what projects would get you excited. And so that one-on-one meeting is super important for us to get to know you a little bit more and get to know your goals and make sure that we're on the same page of where you're heading and where you're at. And so Through that, we also provide, some professional coaching as needed. So we may help you update your resume to be in a professional format for the local cities that you're applying to. And then we'll also provide some internship coaching in kind of a pre departure sense, if you will, or pre program sense. We also offer a behavioral skill assessment through a partner called Indigo. And so it's a quick, like 25-minute skills assessment that you do pre-program, and that's really been helpful for students in kind of articulating their strengths and weaknesses, their communication styles, and their interviews with potential host organizations. So that's a benefit that you get in that pre-program phase as well. And then once you do start the program, of course, we're going to stay here and be supportive and help you throughout the experience. It can be an adjustment to, it might be our first internship. It's a virtual internship. It might be, across international borders. So we'll be there to support you through any challenges and be there to cheers to your success throughout the internship as well. So if you are facing a communication challenge, our staff will be there to support you throughout the internship itself. Also on the program, you'll be called together to interact in online workshops. These workshops are optional but highly encouraged, and these are just a couple of themes that we have touched upon in the past for the program already, but we continue to iterate and add new programming as we continue to provide this program. So what we do is we bring in different industry experts from around the world to talk on these key areas because the cohorts are quite dynamic in terms of working with students across all academic majors and industry areas. We're looking for, themes that can be of interest to a wide variety of students. So some are, more professional development geared, focused on goals. Some are, focused on entrepreneurship or innovating from within an organization, and you know tips and tricks for telling stories, pitching in the workplace, and things like that. So the workshops have been really exciting. I know I've learned a lot going through them with our industry experts that have come in. So that's something exciting to look forward to, and of course we always record those sessions so that they're available in case you have a conflict at the time of the session. Another way that we engage with you throughout the program is through a Slack channel. So the cohort has their own Slack channel, so you can engage with your peers throughout the 8 or 12 weeks that you're interning, and really, um, you know. Share successes with the rest of the cohort, or share things that have come up that were of interest, and just really be able to lean on other peers in the cohort, and also receive resources from CIEE staff, and our industry experts that run the workshops often also participate in the Slack channel. So it's a great way to kind of t- touch base with those folks and continue to expand your network through the program. At the conclusion of the program, there is a certificate of completion that you would receive. So you would receive something that you can print out or keep and saved on file for your records. Then you'll also get a digital badge for LinkedIn, so you can immediately add this experience to your LinkedIn as well. So that's kind of a broad overview of some of the inclusion. Just to dive in a little bit more, I'll talk about the specific internships that we have available for this program. So I did mention that we do work with students across all academic majors for the most part. Um, in the virtual internship format, we found that there are some key areas that are readily available for internships. And so those are listed here. These are kind of the key areas where we are identifying really strong virtual internship experiences. If you don't see your area of interest here, it doesn't mean that it's entirely impossible. So you can always shoot me a note to just kind of share what you're studying and what you're interested in doing, and I can confirm for you whether we think that there will be strong opportunities for you in that area. But generally speaking, these are kind of the broad umbrella buckets of available opportunities that we've seen. So on our application, you'll choose between these areas to kind of rank your first and second choice. Um, topic areas for your internship. We do ask students to choose two areas of interest just in case we find limitations or challenges in your top interest. We have a little bit of flexibility to explore into that second area of interest. Um, and I will also mention that our locations where we're sourcing opportunities are listed here. And what we do like to encourage is for students participating on this program to be really focused on your academic and career related interests on the previous slide as your top priority. However, we can take in a geographic preference into mind for you. So when you meet with our team to discuss your goals and interests. You can certainly communicate an interest, improving your German by partnering with a startup in Berlin, for example. So we can certainly take into account geographic preference, but we just encourage students to have some flexibility and open-mindedness across, all of our great locations for the best possible, academic and career-related opportunity for you. So hopefully that makes sense. In the summer, we had students, across almost like I would say probably 80% of these locations. So it was a really exciting cohort to engage with in the Slack channel because we had, students interning on the East Coast with a company in Berlin and students on the West Coast interning across a 12-hour time difference in Hong Kong, for example. So it was a really dynamic group doing a lot of different and exciting things around the world. So I know I've mentioned a little bit about the process, but just to go through it step by step, want to just highlight that applications are open for the summer, and so you can apply at my.ciee.org. There, you would create a college study abroad account if you don't have one already with us, and you would open a college study abroad application. I will note that the first questions you'll be asked is where do you want to go? And the answer to those location based questions is online. And then you'll be able to find the virtual internship program from there. So after you apply to the program and we admit you to the program, we'll communicate your acceptance via email and include a lot of next steps for you there. So it'll include, the link to your skill assessment with Indigo. It'll include the program calendar, so what you can anticipate for the workshops for your program. Uh, and it will importantly include the most important next step for you to schedule that one-on-one pre-placement meeting with our staff. And so most of our team that works on the placement side for internships are based in Europe, in Berlin and Rome, with support from colleagues around the world. But essentially what you'll do is you'll click a link and you'll be provided access to a shared calendar where you'll be able to schedule a one-on-one meeting that's convenient for you, and our staff will collect notes from that conversation and share them across our entire placement team that will be focused on identifying your placement for you. And so, again, that pre placement meeting is so important for us to get to know you. We meet with every student first one on one to go over your, skill development goals and your interests for the program. And from there, we source an opportunity for you. So it's not like we, have a prescribed list of internships and we're going to just slot you in. We want to talk with you, see what's going to get you excited and thrilled to have an international internship experience, and then we're going to go out and find that match for you. So being prepared for that pre-placement meeting is very important, to talk through all of your interests, and even your non-interests. That can be really helpful for us narrowing down what's going to be the best fit for you. So after you have that dialogue between our staff and yourself, then we ask you to confirm participation to the program. So you have a chance to apply to the program and have that meeting with our staff without additional commitment. At confirmation, we do ask for the full program payment in full at that time, which I realized I did not mention. So that our 8-week program is at $1,450, and our 12-week program is $1,600. So we do ask for that payment in full upfront, but there is a flexible refund policy in place as well, which can be reassuring to just be aware of. So we break that payment down into two payments. A $300 confirmation fee and then the remaining program fee. In the event that you decide to withdraw from the program following confirmation, you will have flexibility depending on if we have introduced you to interview opportunities or not yet, that will determine the refund for you. So if we have introduced you to interview opportunities, but your plans change, then we'll maintain that $300 confirmation fee, but refund you for the remaining program fee. If at the time of the withdrawal we haven't offered any introductions yet, we'll refund you entirely. So I know it can be a little daunting to hear about that confirmation step and the payment due in full at that time, but there is some flexibility for you remaining past that confirmation point. So after you confirm participation, we're going to be so excited to move forward on our matching process. And so we'll take a couple of weeks to connect with our employer network and potentially do outreach and make new contacts based on your goals that you communicated in the pre-placement meeting. And we're going to look to suss out like the best possible opportunities for you, whether it's already existing in our network or something that we're going out there and finding for you. And so you shouldn't be alarmed if w- wait a little bit before you hear about your first opportunities, but we will offer you a virtual introduction between yourself and the supervisor that would be offering the interview. And so we would share, these available opportunities and help facilitate you to have a virtual interview with the employer. And those interviews are really important to just assess if it's a really good fit between you and the employer. And so you'll be able to learn a little bit more about the company or organization and what to expect from an internship with them, what types of projects are available. A lot of our employers are actually really flexible and interested to hear about your goals and interests, and based on business needs at that time, identify projects that really meet in the middle between your goals and the company needs at that time. So the interviews are often quite fluid in that they're really just looking to assess if you're enthusiastic and willing to learn and excited about contributing. And then you can further, fine tune the projects that you would be working on. Following any interviews, then we do ask that you check in back with us and you have we have the opportunity to check back in with the employer to just confirm how the interview went. I would say, on average, like students interview with 1 to 3 different companies before accepting an offer. And so there is some flexibility to kind of try out and see what's going to be the best fit for you. But following that interview phase, we circle back with everybody to assess if there's offers and if students would like to accept them. Once you've identified through your interview process your host organization and you've come to an agreement to accept the offer with them, we pass through a three-way agreement that just outlines the responsibilities between you, the student intern, the company, CIEE as well. So that agreement kind of just offers some strong foundation between all three parties. Then, when the program begins on the start date, we do offer an orientation at that time, and that really gives you a lot of tips and tricks on how to set the stage for a successful internship experience. And so you can anticipate, to get best practices. Typically, we'll have an alumni join that orientation as well to just share their story and what tips and strategies worked well from them in terms of getting started in their internship. And then from there, you'll get started with your supervisor. We do require that all supervisors schedule at minimum one weekly meeting with the interns, and that is because we want you to make sure that you have that resource available to answer questions and make sure that expectations are clear across the board. And so that's something that you can anticipate scheduling in the first week with your supervisor and really laying out a calendar for your commitments moving forward from there. Um, Most often students are connecting more than once a week with their supervisor, but that's the minimum. And the reason why we've established like a minimum requirement is because students are working across borders, and so you may be working in a different time zone but working your local time zone hours. So what I mean by that is if you're based on the East Coast and you're interning with a company in London or Berlin, you might have early morning meetings here on the East Coast with your colleagues across the pond. But then when their day ends, you'll continue to be able to work within your own time zone to complete your projects. So you'll have like a mutual time where you can connect with your supervisor identified in advance, and then you'll be able to kind of move along your projects in your own time zone as well. So those check-ins are really important with your supervisor. And then, of course, on the program, we'll continue to offer those workshops and offer check ins as well so that you have our support throughout the experience. And we do then at the end of the program follow up with final evaluations for both the student and the employer. And of course, that does influence the certificate received at the end of the program. So hopefully, this kind of helps outline what you can anticipate from a process perspective. But if there's any questions on the pre-placement process or just the program process in general, I'm happy to answer some questions.
Brooke, thank you so much. That was a lot of wonderful information. I definitely learned a lot about your programs. I mean, I was somewhat informed about your programs, but definitely not as informed as I am now.
Mhm.
Um, Jessica or Melina, do you have any questions for Brooke?
I don't have any at the moment, but if I know I can definitely reach out if I do. But you've explained everything really well. I'm very excited, so I appreciate it.
Okay, great, great.
Great.
Um,
Brooke, Jess, go ahead.
Sorry, good. I was gonna just ask, are there any opportunities for scholarships or anything like that?
That was
There's
my
great.
exact question. So
Sorry.
great one.
Great question. So there is a possibility to um, earn a grant for completing this program towards a future in-person program, but unfortunately, there aren't any scholarships or grants for this program. We've really tried to keep the program price as low as we can, and in so doing, unfortunately, are not able to offer additional CIE scholarships and grants to offset that. However, if you do earn funding from an outside resource outside of CIEE, we're more than happy to talk with you about how you might be able to apply that to the program. But unfortunately, we're not offering any scholarships or grants for this program.
Okay.
That's fair
Um,
enough.
and another question is working with an organization and the 12 weeks wraps up. Will they be able to extend that internship
So
with the
potentially,
organization
yeah, we
after the
actually
tenure?
have, yeah, so that has happened from some of our earlier participants and our alumni in the program, where at the conclusion of the program, the student and the employer have determined directly to continue the relationship. So essentially, what that would mean is that we have that three-way agreement in place for this program for the 8 or 12 weeks, and that's the agreement that's established out front. But as you approach the end of the internship experience, if you and your employer would like to continue the relationship, you certainly can. It would just be a two-way agreement at that time between the intern and the employer. So
Okay,
certainly possible, not something that's guaranteed, but absolutely possible.
great. Thank you.
And I have another question. And Brooke, you and I have talked about this offline a little bit. Does CIE offer credit, as in academic credit, for your internships?
Great question. I'm glad you asked. I was going to return to that topic. So we have designed this program in a non-credit format, which has also allowed us to keep the price as low as we have been able to keep it. We still are excited about the workshops that we offer on the
Mhm.
program as great learning opportunities, but unfortunately, they're not structured in a formal syllabus. We are hoping to add a for-credit option to add on, if you will. It's just
Mhm.
not something that we're currently offering yet, but stay tuned. We'll certainly let you all know if there is an additional offering to consider for the summer. But as of right now, it is a non credit format. With that being said, I am more than happy to work with students and advisors. If there is a pathway for credit on campus, which I believe you said there was.
Mhm.
So we're more than happy to provide any documentation about the internship to support that process on campus. But if you'd like to speak a little bit more about the credit pathways,
Sure.
yeah.
For VW students, if you're wondering, there are opportunities to earn credit on campus, you would just need to work with either Jessica or myself and an advisor to make that happen. And that's on an individual basis. So we would work with you and an advisor in your major to make that happen. So there are opportunities for that. And then we would work with people like Brooke to make sure the appropriate hours and the appropriate assignments and work were being completed with appropriate supervision and all of that. So there are opportunities to make that happen if you need this for credit, which there are some majors that do require that.
I do have some alumni stories to share as
Yeah, please
well, but
do.
if there are any other like logistical questions or questions about the basic offering, happy to continue there.
Why don't you go ahead and share a couple stories,
Yeah.
and if there are other questions that pop up, we can always answer those after.
Okay, great. Yeah, so this summer we had a really great cohort of about 45 participants, and we have other students, participating through the fall and in the early spring that we're already working with as well. But wanted to share some stories. So believe I've pulled out, 5 stories from the summer. A couple of them have click-through blogs available as well. So hopefully you'll be able to access these later to kind of hear directly from our alumni. Madison is one of the students that did write a blog feature for us that you could access. She had a really exciting internship at the Institute of Political Marketing in Prague, which is a think tank in the political marketing space. And primarily what they've been doing is, monitoring the US elections and giving weekly briefings on US politics and, trying to filter that into strategies for local Czech politicians. And also one of their initiatives is focused on women empowerment in politics. So we've had students working on grant writing and projects specifically around having more women enter the political space in Prague. So that was a really exciting story. We also have had Madison continue with some projects with that employer pastor program, and we also have additional students interning there, which is exciting. Then Nigel, a little bit of a different opportunity in Hong Kong. I think he was working across a 12-hour time difference, so he would have an early morning or late evening meeting with his counterpart in Hong Kong. That was more of a business role in the HR space for a global recruiter. Really develop skills around project management and doing broad market research and survey work and polishing some data analysis skills. Christopher, another totally different experience in Santiago de Chile with a NGO focused on environment and sustainable development. So another key area that a lot of students have expressed interest in. So we've had some exciting opportunities around sustainability in the environment. And this was one that we would just like to highlight. And then who else do we have? William Baya. He also wrote a blog for us. He was a really great student that we had the chance to work with, actually studying in the U.S. as an international student. So we do work with, American citizens studying in the U.S. or studying abroad, as well as international students studying in the U.S. and students based internationally as well. So it's always a dynamic cohort. William was a great example of that. Engineering major out of Washington and Lee, and he was matched with a startup based out of Boston called Eden Geotech. Oftentimes, the engineers are like, how am I going to do a virtual global internship? There is some flexibility that's required for the engineers because you do have to keep in mind that projects must be able to be completed over the internet. So William had kind of a hybrid role where he was doing some research on fracking, but also doing some kind of business analysis of different business models around the world that they could consider adapting as well, in addition to that more technical research that he was doing. And then Maya and Bianca both interned with a startup, Peregrine Technologies in Berlin. That is a tech startup, and they use different kind of video analytics, I believe. And so they had a variety of different projects and roles around like user experience, research, and also, helping on social media and communications projects as well. So kind of a dynamic duo there with that startup in Berlin. I would say most often our students are the only intern at a location, but in the case of Paragon, they had separate but equal projects available, so they had two interns there on program. So just wanted to offer a couple of snapshots of what students have done in the past and see the variety and the exciting opportunities across geographic borders and across industry. I can say that these examples are all pretty strong examples of the company size that we typically work with, or organization size. So we're typically partnering with startups and small to medium-sized businesses and organizations. So these five examples all fall into those kind of size buckets for you to just be able to have a bit more expectation about the types of companies that we work with. So hopefully that's helpful. And we do just have a couple of testimonials from students as well. You can, see about halfway down that Natalie P. also was able to continue her internship beyond the end date of the program. And so we've had some successes there. So I'll just leave that up. If we have any other questions come in, I'm happy to answer those.
Great. Those are great examples, and those testimonials are a great way to kind of show what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Yeah, of
Any
course.
other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Brooke, so much for joining us today. You gave us a ton of wonderful information. And we will for sure be putting Brooke's information up at the end of this video so you can get in contact with her. And there's her email again if you have any questions. And stay tuned again for our next provider coming out next week. So thank you guys again for joining us.